Alrighty, so the new meta for probably every single CoCNova build in the game. What is happening and what is going on with this damage right here? Okay, so long story short, there's a fundamental change in how we are going to be building every single CoCNova from now on. Doesn't matter whether it's the CI version, the low life version, the life based version, the hybrid version. Any one of these versions, pretty much, are all probably going to start copying this method, I believe, because it is so ridiculously strong in what it does, and obviously this opens up the door to even different ascendancies, pretty much. So in my opinion, and probably it's going to come true anyway, this will be the new way to build every single cast on crit Ice Nova and probably cast on crit character, let's be real. So what is the big difference here? It is this helm, pretty much. So for anyone that knows, I always like to run my cast on crit characters with 100% crit and 100% hit at all times. Now this helmet happens to let you do that very, very well, along with some other gearing choices and stuff like that, and pretty much it also allows you to get more damage than you fundamentally could on any 6-link, including on a +3 chest piece. And it can be taken even further than that. So the traditional old school way of doing it was always, just using a 6-link chest piece and, which one is it? And essentially putting inside a carcass jack and then getting a +3 carcass jack, and +3 levels is massive, by the way. But as you can see, we've actually managed to effectively double the damage on this. And you're probably thinking, oh man, there's got to be some massive drawback. Crazily enough, there's actually no drawback to this. So this is very, very high end. So, obviously if you're still a beginner player or anything like that, you will still be doing probably a carcass jack version in the beginning. You're still going to just get the regular gear. But the second you want to now min-max it, you're going to go down a very, very different route. And it all starts with this helmet. Now, this helmet is extremely craftable, unbelievably deterministic. However, it is also going to be expensive to make. And it is still RNG based at the end of the day. But essentially, we'll have a crafting video about this later. But in its current state, it is super deterministic to craft. This may change in the future, so we'll see. But obviously, if you were to switch it from life to CI or low life, you would just change out the life for ES. Very, very small change. You would still get the +1 levels on this. And this can be taken even further. So not only have we doubled the damage practically, actually we have definitely doubled the damage because there's a bunch of other changes. But just on the 6-link alone, we basically now have a pseudo 8-link. And the pseudo 8-link also makes the rest of our gearing much, much stronger. So we're just going to start here with the helm. It's a concentrated effect, which is a link we already had. Thanks to all the other crit we're going to get right, we can now drop the increased critical strikes gem and then get a hypothermia. But not just any hypothermia, a level 25 hypothermia, which is actually going to increase our chance to freeze, by the way, which is going to make us even more defensive, along with giving us more damage. The next crazy part is that we also have kind of what would be technically our 7th link here, and that is the more elemental damage. Socketed gems deal 30% more elemental damage. Blech. Anyway, so that is essentially a 7-link, and then the crit chance it gives us essentially puts us at a pseudo 8-link. There's other bits of gear that are going to fill in the rest of the crit that's needed still, but this puts us miles and miles and miles ahead of every other version of the build we've ever done. So we have still got 100% crit, and we have a 7-link. Now, initially, I looked at this back in Harvest and I was like, could we do this? The problem was that there actually still wasn't enough crit in the game, and we didn't know if Harvest Crafting was going to stay. So I was like, what's the point of me releasing a POB of a version only I can play on standard? It wouldn't have been practical. However, now that Harvest Crafting is in the game, and thanks to the addition of Maven Crafting, this has ended up being probably the most likely way that every single cast on crit character should or will be building their characters in the future, including all the other ones. Like I said, CI and low life should both no longer be using a chest piece. They should be using the helmet and using their other gear slots in a much, much different manner. Anyway, so this is the helm. I will release a crafting video on how to do this. There is one caveat and one thing I want you to pay attention to straight away, and that is the fact that it is a Shaper and Elder helm. This means that you can't essentially just buy a base with Ice Nova damage on it and just slam it with a Hunter orb like we used to, right? No Awakener orb or anything like that. You have to get a Shaper base, or you have to gamble a normal base with using Harvest Crafting and hit either Elder or Shaper. So this does make getting the base hard. However, you could just get a Shaper base and an Elder base, whichever one, slam it together, start your Essence Crafting, and then just get the enchant later. That is up to you how you would do it, but I'm just going to put it out there. This is going to be the most expensive part of the build. It's also the most, worthwhile and the most build enabling. Okay, so that's what your helm's going to look like. This is what makes all the difference. The next part is going to be your chest piece. So, thanks to all the crit we're getting here, right? we have 100% crit. I'll go over this in a second, but I just want to explain, some of the choices we made. This allows us to get Frenzy Charge on hit, additional curse, nearby enemies are blinded, which is going to allow us to drop Flesh and Stone off the build. Now, we still do lose the bonus of this, but I also still recommend getting all the additional crit from this, because the additional crit from this is also going to come into play later for a couple of other bits and pieces we are going to drop off the build. For instance, we can now get rid of the Pure Talent, which opens us up for another triple multi life jewel, which actually gives us more life than the old version. So it's actually kind of funny, and way more damage, by the way. Obviously, that's where we get the damage from. But anyway, this is a massive, massive change. The blind works exactly there. If you were to get this multi-modded, you could also get Cannot Be Blinded, as well as another crazy layer of defense you could have. We now have the ability to generate our own frenzy charges. Now, I don't recommend putting points into frenzy charges. They're quite point inefficient. But you now have 3 frenzy charges, which is actually going to make your cyclone speed quite comfortably a 9.73. Obviously this is yet again in the end game. This also goes up much higher when I've got an onslaught, but I'll explain that all some other time. So that's the changes right there. When we drop the Flesh and Stone, we actually replace it with the new ring that we're going to be making, which is this one. This one. And we're going to get Aspect of the Spider. Now, some of you guys might want to get Herald of Ice. I've said this a million times, but Herald of Ice is really, really bad on damage, and it's even worse without those rings. Between, Aspect of the Spider, which adds a tremendous amount of damage. Actually, we can't even unenable that right now. Okay, so we can't turn it off, but turn it off in config maybe. 0. So that's the amount of damage it's giving us, which is quite a lot, and a defensive layer, and it is not weakened on bosses, right? If I was to add just a regular Herald of Ice to the build, it does like 2% damage. I tell the people this all the time, Herald of Ice does so little for the build, it's not funny. I think it's like 2% damage. It's 3% damage apparently, my bad. It is 3% damage. 3% damage is not a great deal, eh? Not compared to Aspect of the Spider. We may find a way to squeeze this in further down the track, but for now, Aspect of the Spider has massive, massive priority over Herald of Ice. So yeah, that's pretty much my TLDR right there. You could also, if you want, you could go for an Explodey chest. I've already told you guys my personal opinion on this. I don't feel the need for it. We just don't clear that way, and you just don't need it. I like the additional curse. We could also drop the additional curse if you don't have this way of getting the additional curse, by the way. So if you don't have Ellie Weakness on the Command of the Pit, you can obviously just drop the curse and put it on later, depending on how you want to Harvest Craft this. Also, we still get Spell Crit Chance. I'll explain that. Actually, probably won't. Long story short, you will need this to get perfect crit. However, I will also show you guys right now exactly what I'm talking about when I say perfect crit and why it's so important. This is going to be a little bit scattered, but yeah. Even without Consecrated Ground, even with Hexproof, even without Chill, you can turn off all this stuff. It's not really going to matter. Unnerved and all sort of stuff doesn't do anything. Turn off all my flask, right? So there's no gimmicks here. There's no crit chance anywhere on the build. You guys will see this in the POB. So it's all on gear, right? And I still have 100% crit chance and 100% hit chance at all times. No matter the map mods, no matter what I'm up against, I always have consistent, perfect 9 Novas per second. And thanks to the addition of now not having the increased critical strikes gem, that also means that your Cospreys also get the benefit of this additional crit chance. So back in the day when we would do it right, it would only be your 6 link that had the increased crit, that had the 100% uptime on it, you know what I mean, 100% hit and crit. And now your Cospreys get the exact same thing. So not only are you getting a 100% crit chance, we no longer need to remove the gems out of our Cospreys to run Ellie Reflect maps. So we can now run every single map mod. No regen, Ellie Reflect, the whole lot. Mind you, you will still need your power charges, because without power charges, you don't get your base crit, unfortunately. So you still need power charges, so you just try not to die while you're winding up. I will put this out here. This might go away on, let's say, a Scion version, which can be an Assassin, or anything else, like an Inquisitor, which can get some extra base crit. The CI version could use a critical chance to spells or whatever. Shield. Many options here, but long story short, we could probably make every single version 100% crit without the need to even be an assassin. This is why I believe it's going to open up more build diversity than ever. Yeah, currently I think some dude has like a elementalist version. Well, now we could make that not a flask reliant elementalist, and we could get a lot of benefit from that. I still reckon Cyan would be way better, but besides the point. Anyway, so that's some of the changes we're going to make. Massive changes. I will be releasing this POB for you guys to go over. Another thing I want to mention is going to be the cost breeze. Okay, so cost breeze. This is something I'm going to mention to you guys before I even release the POB. Right now, I currently have Skills Fire and Extra Projectile. If I didn't have these, right, I would have, instead of Hypothermia, to increase my Frostbolt damage, which is massive, by the way. So your Frostbolts are now also doing 760k, and there's 6 of these, and then there's 3 of them. You know, these things pretty much kill everything on their own. They're currently linked with a Hypothermia, and the Frostbolt takes away the cast timer, because this thing has like a delay on it or whatever, has a cooldown, which basically means you're getting permanent Frostbolts aside from a small gap every 4 seconds or whatever. Doesn't matter. I'll explain that in, you know, the actual big release of this CoCNova video. But the long story short is, if I didn't have these cost breeze, I would put GMP here, because we still do need to get more than 1 Frostbolt so that we can get our optimal amount of repeats. That's pretty much the only thing I would watch out for if someone wants to build it this way. So, you know, if you're using the POB and you don't know why we went extra projectiles instead of crit chance, we no longer need the crit chance. We can actually use the projectile one, which in my opinion are the absolute pinnacle of CoCNova. So, yeah, these are the big changes. We still want to get Frostbite on hits. Frostbite is the priority over Elemental Weakness, or, by the way, you could also swap Ele Weakness to get Enfeeble as well. So Enfeeble and the spell crit chance would also be really, really good defensively. Would help you out a lot in Delirium Maps, where things start to get a little bit more hairy. And, yeah, so there's a lot of diversity we can do with this, but this is essentially a new way to do it. There is one thing also worth mentioning. Because we now generate our own Frenzy Charges this way, it means that we have a spare slot open on our Amulet. Now, unfortunately, that's pretty much already given away off the bat to Accuracy, because now that we are using Accuracy in the Hubris, we used to use it in the... Pardon me, it's such a scuffed one. Because we used to use Accuracy here, right, because it had the highest Accuracy roll, we now need to get Accuracy somewhere else, because obviously we have a pure damage helmet now. The Accuracy just goes on the Amulet. This is actually very, very easy to craft, so people that have existing versions that have the minimum Frenzy Charge, you're now just going to add remove attack until you get tier 1 Accuracy, and you will still have the Accuracy cap. You do need this Accuracy, unfortunately, because you don't get anywhere else, but, you know, nothing changes on the tree so much. That's pretty much everything. So we have still got all of our cooldown recovery. I still got the flash charges game when you deal a critical strike. This covers pretty much all the defenses you can possibly get on this build, all the quality of life you could get. We pretty much lose nothing. We actually gain health, and we gain a tremendous amount of damage. So this is pretty much where we are in the build right now. Every single version going forward, CI, low life, everyone should probably be using this helm. Crafting video will come out. I'm sure, like, Path of Math or someone, if they see this, will probably just be like, this is brilliant. He's got the funds to get this stuff going a lot quicker than I do, obviously. I work full-time, but I got the POB. Anyway, I'm going to release this to the public. You guys can have a crack at this in any way you want. Obviously, this gear is crazy good. I have a majority of this on standard, so I will just be making the helm, the chest piece. I need to make 1 more of these, I believe, and I need to remake my ring, because obviously we were Assassin's Mark. You could also go another Assassin's Mark ring if you felt the need to. I personally just prefer the other mods, and I prefer getting it on the Command of the Pit. I POB'd it. We've got 2.1 mil damage now. This is subject to change. It still is early days, so just remember, everything I'm telling you about here is still subject to change, but this is probably the way that people are going to min-max CoCNova in the future, and probably for a very, very long time. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. POB will be available down below. Now we've also got to talk about Delirium when it comes to CoCNova, and a new POB also for Toxic Rain. So, when it comes to Delirium, there is a couple of weaknesses with this build that are inescapable pretty much, right? So, you know, people will tell you, oh, just get a Headhunter and it's no problem. It's not actually as simple as that, because the weaknesses that I'm talking about are essentially, a Headhunter lessens your damage. You don't really steal good mods with it. A Headhunter is virtually never recommended. You can still get it to work. You can still use the self-poison version, but they're pretty lackluster in comparison to other stuff, and apparently there's some bug with it that doesn't get you good rewards. Now, I don't even need a Headhunter, and I can currently run 100% Delirious. With this gear upgrades we're getting, I'm assuming I'm going to absolutely destroy 100% Delirium. There's still probably 2 or 3 weaknesses that I could go over, though, that are always going to be a problem for this build. One, there's a slow, I can't remember what it's called, anomalous something or other. I cannot do anything about this slow. I've tried looking for if it has a tag of like a cannot be hindered, cannot be maimed, what is this thing? Apparently it's just an action speed slow that you can't, you know, you can barely see, and that you have pretty much have no way around. You just have to like flame dash through it and pray you don't get it. And sometimes this can slow you, and when you get slowed, you get hit, and when you get hit, you can die. Very, very quickly in Delirium. So this is like a constant weakness. Now normally a Headhunter, even though it would nerf my damage, would still, you know, hopefully have enough ES layer to carry me through this. I would not build this with a Headhunter the same way. Okay, so if I was building with a Headhunter, I would probably swap out one of these flasks for a Cinder Swallow so that we could get our ES layer back. And then I would probably also have a different Watcher's Eye. I will go into this other version some other time. But long story short, you can still do 100% Delirious, but that slow is annoying. And there's also the Vines. Now, Vines also slow us. They also kill us. You know, like I said, slowing down is the biggest problem with this build. Like when we're zooming, we're running through mobs can barely hit us, we're dodge based, we're highly mobile, it won't be an issue. Stun is an issue, you just get, cannot be stunned on all your jewels, which is now the new recommendation, not the life leech. I've tested out the life leech, I want the stun more, especially in 100% Delirious, because it's just the way it goes, man. 100% Delirious didn't used to stun us, but the game is getting more and more scary. I have started noticed that I do get stunned. And then there's finally the third problem with 100% Delirious, which is poor visibility. And for me, a lot of lag. Now, a lot of lag is specifically my problem. I can barely run Delirium on my computer. And the recent patches have made it so much worse. I'm hoping to fix this so I can get you some footage of 100% Delirious maps with CoCNova and how I recommend playing. But poor visibility, tremendous lag. Yeah, again, tremendous lag being my problem. And these constant slows that I currently have no way of dealing with. If you guys know how to deal with the slows that isn't go get the Calm's roots, sweet, I'll try and find a way to fit it into the build, but as it currently stands, when you hit those mobs that have the vines, you're going to get slowed. Getting slowed will get you killed. If you go up against like a cliff on canyon and you can't see it very well because of, you know, how poor the visibility is, and like my graphics card makes the screen all blurry, so it's really hard to see anything, and the lag makes it hard to see, you can get stuck on a cliff, and then you stop moving, and then you die. That is a massive, massive problem. Always being melee is going to be a problem on these builds, so if you get stopped and you can't attack the enemy and the enemy can attack you, you will die. And that is a very, very punchy thing. Obviously, your layout choice should matter when you're picking this character. If you've got this character, try and pick a map that doesn't have anything that could just block you randomly while you're in the middle of lagging. It's one of the biggest pet peeves of mine. It's like, I happen to like running the canyon map. Sometimes I'm, holding down right click and I'm just like, well, nothing's going to kill me so long as I'm moving. Turns out I've, cycloned myself into a cliff, I've stopped, I've died, or I've been slowed and just didn't know about it for the last 10 minutes. The game suddenly speeds up and I'm dead. And I'm just like, well, it wasn't a problem of damage, it wasn't a problem of me making a mistake, it was literally a combination of I couldn't see what was going on and I can't control my character. This is where a Headhunter character would just have enough ES to live forever. So, like I said, not much I can do about that. I will probably just make a Headhunter friendly version at some point further down the future. I don't like all the current iterations. They've got shit damage and they lose a bunch. These helms on those versions will probably fix that, because then they'll have damage like mine and 100% crit uptime. They'll still probably have 7 Novas per second, but that's fine. 7 Novas with this kind of damage is absolutely insane. So anyway, like I said, that's probably everything you're going to need to know about this. I'll be posting this hopefully within the next 20-30 minutes when the video comes out. Anyway, now we're going on to Toxic Rain. So, new Toxic Rain POB. And this one is for 100% Delirium farming. This one has absolutely no dramas, by the way, because this is a Headhunter self-poison Toxic Rain build. Sorry, guys, I'm very, very out of it. I only just got back from from work. Alright, so what are the changes, and does it actually work? Well, first I'll just show you a quick clip of it. So I've got a mate to test this in the Ritual League. This is, 100% Delirium juice. He has a quarter of the gear I have. But this is 100% Delirium, bunch of scary mods. He's got no gear. He's currently using a Dying Sun because he doesn't have the amount of arrows that I have on the final version. He's got about 20 mil damage. I have closer to 60. But all you need to do essentially is add a Coralitos to the build, change up the tree a little bit. Headhunter definitely helps, but is not necessary because it's self-poison, which is letting you wind up. But he's also got like a lot of suboptimal setups. Like I said, this is a very different version. But what you will see is that this thing tails up. This is 100% Delirium, and he's only just started winding up. As usual, I've told you guys before, Headhunter works with this thing without any need of help, without any kind of helps. This is also before I suggested to him that he gets a Cinder Swallow, which helps his life and ES layers that he's currently not using. So he dies in this, I believe, but see right up here, he doesn't even have the correct tree at this point. This was just under a small... this was like before I made all the changes that we did, so... Pretty much, you have no problems keeping up 100% poison. This is going to give you, what is it, 1200 increased damage. Increased damage is ridiculous on Chaos builds, in case you don't know. We've got a bunch of more multipliers. The thing we actually can't get a lot of is increased. And increased works tremendously well. I think if we skip forward, we find a boss. And you'll still watch him, even without Headhunter stacks. That's him dying, sorry. I'm just trying to find the section where he comes up to the boss. Somewhere in here, he gets the boss. Long story short, he does clear this, by the way. I'm just trying to find the section with the boss. We may have to skip this, because like I said, I can't really search for it right now. Where is it? He appears somewhere. Like I said, unfortunately, this is a very, very long map. I can't remember where it was, guys. I'm sorry to do this to you, but unfortunately, I cannot be bothered to show you this. But he kills both CoC and the other one, Ophelia, whatever its name is. Bunch of Headhunter stacks. This isn't self-curse or anything like that. This is straight up Toxic Rain. Can it run 100% Delirium? Yes, on half the gear. This is Ritual League. You can see it up here, hopefully, if the quality's not too bad on the video. But yeah, so the easiest way to do 100% Delirium is get some semi-decent... Ooh, there he is. Okay, so we can actually watch this. Ooh, has he already killed it? I'm very struggling to sort of find out where that was. How have I not? Has he already killed it at this point? I think he may have already killed it. God damn it. Why is this? Unfortunately, guys, I haven't got enough time to actually fuck around with this. I'll show people the footage some other time. Long story short, he obviously kills it. There you go. So yes, Toxic Rain is 100% delirious. I'm just going to quickly go over the changes. First one in the POB you'll notice is that this is no longer Divine Flesh. This is Corrupted Soul. We actually want the ES layer that the Headhunter is going to steal for you. Secondly, we want the Headhunter. It's really, really good. You don't need one this crazy. Feel free to turn this off, play around with the POB, make it more realistic. This is gear I obviously already possess. This is crazy gear. You don't need this. Yet again, the Corralitos, unbelievably cheap. Cinder Swallow, unbelievably cheap. How do we get the self-poison? Well, we just literally have the golden rule. You can make it a corrupting blood one, whatever you want. These three items are pretty much what gets you started. Then you need some form of unaffected by poison. Up to you guys how you get that. You can get it on the boots. You can get it on a Watcher's Eye. It does not matter. Like I said, start taking off some of the OP gear. He only has, like I said, he's only got 20 mil DPS in League. I'm sure you guys can get this quite easily. The other change is the tree, really, really quickly. So, I think we just drop a few life nodes because Headhunter is going to carry. We just need to wind up. I grab these accuracy nodes because we do actually want to hit so that we can put our poison down effectively. We do actually take away our elemental ailments immune, and then we go to Master Toxicist again. Why? Because this spreads our poison. We want a poison. We then take the poison nodes here because for the chance to poison. So we're just going to quickly show you poison. Ooh, poison. We take these ones. It gives us 25% chance to poison. Add it up. We grab this one. It's another 10% chance to poison. We also grab... I swear there's something else I grab as well. Alright, sorry. We grab these two as well. That's another 25% chance to poison. When you add in the Corralitos, you go to your configuration, or sorry, calculations. And somewhere in here, there is the chance to poison. So we have 94% hit chance, and we have 90% chance to poison. This is significantly better than what you've seen in that video. And like I said, he didn't have the Cinder Swallow set up. These are all improvements we've made. This is also subject to change. I'm just trying to get out these POBs as quick as possible. So both of these will be available at the end of this video. That's everything you need to know. 100% Delirious farming is quite easy on Toxic Rain. Probably the most budget friendly too, by the way. CoCNova has now been taken to double the damage. No loss to defenses. You know, it's even better than it was before in terms of quality of life, because now we don't even need to like take off our gem links when we go do Elemental Reflect. Every single build has been improved. I only had like a week to get all this out. I still have got like scuffed information. Everything's still subject to change. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This video is going on too long. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Catch you guys later. Peace out.